welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me here. If you like what you see, if what you see is relatable, if what you hear is relatable, understandable, definitely go ahead and give me a comment and subscribe if this resonates with you and if you find an interest in my energy. So today I'm going to get into a video on how to see through illusions. Now, when we think of illusions, we automatically think of something that isn't real, that's false, that's fake, an illusion, right? Like a fallacy, a story, a abstract thing, right? Is what we ideally would think an illusion is. And while an illusion is something that is not completely true, it's distorted, illusions definitely are real in their existence. And what do I mean by this? Well, I just mean like, if I am seeing an illusion, yes, it's an illusion, but yes, it still exists. I think when we say like, oh, it's just an illusion or it's an illusion, we can allude to this idea of like, oh, it's not real, it doesn't exist, it's just not, there's no truth to it. But there is a touch to it, right? There is a certain existence to it, even if it is not completely real in its standing, right, in its definition. An important thing about being able to even see through the illusions is being in tune with yourself, right? In order to be able to see that something is or is not real, you have to be able to be in touch with yourself. You have to be able to self-reflect, and from that self-reflection, have the awareness and carry the awareness with you of what is the reality versus what isn't the reality. Now, the illusion will seem like it's the reality. It'll seem like that's the right thing, or that's the thing, or this is what it is, right? It gives off that vibe that it's real, that it's actualized, but actually, the illusion can be shifted, almost like our reality, right? We can shift our realities at any time. And, you know, oftentimes we may be living in a sort of illusion in our reality, even if we want to think about it like powerlessness, right? Powerlessness is an illusion because we do have power by just waking up. That is power. However, it's not an illusion in the fact that it's a very real experience and it's a very real thing that we do go through and experience. So the first step is to be in tune with yourself, get in tune with yourself, cleanse your energy, right? And really allow yourself to gain self-awareness about how you feel, what you don't feel, what you think, what you don't think. Because a lot of what creates illusions in our realities is our thoughts, is our mindsets, is how we're seeing things. And so if I'm choosing to see something in a way that is personal, well, then it's going to feel personal to me, right? And that is an illusion that I'm creating and adding to when I think and see it as this is personal to me. Because really, it's not personal to you if you were to tap in with your own knowing and your own awareness. So once you understand that you have to constantly be in connection to yourself, you have to constantly be in self-reflection, a state of awareness of who you are and what you stand for and what you value and what you like and what you don't like, you're going to understand that you have an energy about you, right? We all have an energy about us. We have energy signatures. And what this is like, usually when you pull up somewhere, like people know it's you by your energy. Like, how do I describe this? Because it's like, you know how if somebody's having a bad day, you know that they're having a bad day because you sense the vibe. Energy is simply a vibe, but it's like your vibe, you know, like your style is almost like what your energy signature is, but it's something that's felt. It's something that is sensed more than something that is felt like physically. It's more something that's like, there's something, but I just can't quite, it's something that you feel and can sense, but you can't quite put your finger on. And the more time that you spend with yourself, the more time that you spend getting tapped in with you, that's where you understand and begin to feel what your own energy signature is like. And once you're aware of your own energy and the energy you carry and the vibration that you radiate at, which is the energy you're giving off, the vibes you're giving off, you can then discern your ability to read others. Because if I know what's mine, if I know what my energy feels like, if I know where I resonate energetically, and somebody comes in with an energy that is complete opposite, if somebody comes in with an energy that is complete, let me get some water, sorry guys. Okay, so if I know what energy I resonate at, it's going to be easy for me to discern what energy is and is not mine. It's going to be easy for me to read energy because, well, I know my own energy. So if it doesn't feel like me, if it doesn't sound like me, if it doesn't give off the energy that I'm giving off or the energy that I feel inside of me because I've spent time with myself, because I self-reflect, because I'm in tune with me, I'm going to be able to know that's not my energy. That's not my story. That's not how I feel. That's not where I'm at. That's not what I vibrate at. That's not what I think. And that's not what I feel. And so really being tapped in and being in touch with ourselves is what gives us that space to then discern and read others, because you know the reflection of you that isn't a reflection of you, but it's a reflection of you in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's mirroring, and that's a whole other subject, but you want to really pay attention to the narratives that come up and question them that you experience, because it's in those narratives, right? Those thoughts, those beliefs, those mental habits where we pick up on other people's energy, where we pick up on other people's feelings, thoughts, behaviors, ideas about us, about life, about the world. And so this even shows up like in TV, you know, this even shows up in group spaces where a lot of people may think or feel this way, so you might start to feeling this and that way. But it's like, have you really thought about that for yourself? The movie might portray the character to be like this, and to think like the movie might say, oh, it's great to think like this, but it's like, well, do I agree with that? And so you also kind of have to be this free thinker. You have to think for yourself, and you have to be open to really standing 10 toes down on having your own mind, your own thoughts, your own behaviors, being your own person, really like tapping into a space where you're learning and honing in on how to, and on, you know, embodying your own sense of individualism. And that's how we rid ourselves of illusions as well, right? So we have being self-aware, tapped in and connected to yourself through this self-reflection, through this self-cleansing, right? And this could be through crying, spiritual baths, exercising, walking, meditation, journaling, whatever it is for you, conversations with yourself, God, really just staying tapped in so you can be clear-headed. And even when something is presented to you, right? Like I said, an idea, a thought, a belief, somebody throws a projection at you, you're like, oh, wait. You're not immediately like, oh, internalize, this is mine, I have to take it, because you're like, wait, who am I? What am I? I know who I am. I know what I'm not. So wait, right? So back to what I was saying, you want to pay attention to the narratives and the stories that are coming up for you, because it's in that where we are able to tap into the illusions and out of the illusions by choice, purposely, intentionally. So let's give an example of an illusion. An illusion for me is that I am not capable. So something that's been projected onto me in my life is that I'm not capable, is that I am irresponsible, and that I cannot handle XYZ because I'm different, I do things differently, I act differently, I live differently, emotionally I am different, I'm just different, and I move differently, and I think for myself, and I'm not really confined to the standards of this world, of this society, of this reality, which you may also resonate in. If you do, definitely go ahead and give me a comment. But it's energy like that. And so, you know, there's a space where people may say, that's not possible, you can't do that, you can't make that happen, you're irresponsible, you're making these wrong decisions. Now the illusion is that I'm not capable, that I'm irresponsible, that I'm making mistakes, that I'm not making the best decisions ultimately for me, simply because somebody else sees them in that way. Now when I tap into my own energy and I say, Does this resonate with me? Is that my narrative? Is that true for me? Is that what I believe? Is that what I feel? If when I tap into that and I can feel it in my body, that's not right, or I kind of feel like it is right, or I'm completely on board with them and I'm really tapped into internalization of what they're saying and how they're making me feel. This is where the work is, right? The self-reflection, the self-awareness, the self-cleansing that allows us to clear the fog, to clear the illusion. And so in that circumstance, if I feel like I resonate with it, that is showing me, and that shows us where there's work to be done, right? Where we need to really think, why do I feel like I'm not capable? Why do I feel like I'm making the wrong decisions? And really allow ourselves to go back to the space emotionally where that came about. Well, where did that come from? Well, why do I think that? Oh, because I feel like being unique is bad, and I feel like, because I'm doing something different and I'm doing it a different way and I'm going a different way and I'm taking a different path and I don't have all the answers, that like they're right about me and like da 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 da. And so it's diving into those narratives that are taking us down or making us feel like we lack something, and feeling that sadness, that pain, that trauma that is behind it, most likely from childhood and other places, but childhood is often the root. And so if you resonate with it, you want to check in and do that. Even if it's like, I kind of resonate, but not really, you still want to lean into it and be like, what is there? But if you don't resonate at all, that's a specific sign that's like, okay, no, this isn't for me. So, and that's kind of like where you get to at a point. Like, you don't immediately end up with the not resonant place, because if it's being reflected to you, oftentimes it is something that is inside of us already. So when you recognize that, oh, I do feel some type of way about that does trigger something in my mind, it's kind of like a level thing where it resonates, right, completely. And then you look at it, you work through it, you keep working through it. Patience is key. Persistence is key, repetition is key, consistency is key. But you do that, and then you get to a space where you're like, okay, that doesn't really resonate with me anymore. But then somebody else projects it again, or something happens again, and you're like, there's something there. Now, it may not always be that you're still attached to that idea or that narrative, but it could just be it's a habit, right? It's a habit of you going into this space. So then you have to gradually keep working until you get to this space, which is like, no, I see through this clearly, and I know what this is, and I know what this isn't. And that is not my energy. That is not me. That is not true. I've built a new narrative. I'm building a new narrative. I am a new person. That doesn't resonate. And so there really is levels to freeing yourself from the illusion, but nonetheless, these are still the steps that you do have to take, and that we do have to take in order to really clear the fog and clear ourselves of the illusions. Now, research is also helpful as well. If you're dealing with something, you're not really sure, I don't understand what this is, what is this feeling? Google it, right? Google it. Google has been a great help to me. YouTube has been a great help to me. So you can Google it, you can research it, but look into it and really see, like, okay, what's this about? Like, can I get any more information on this? Because a lot of times what keeps us in the illusion as well is we lack understanding. We don't understand what this really means that we're feeling. We don't really understand why they're saying this. We don't really understand why we feel so upset or why we feel so triggered. We don't really understand why it's bothering us. We don't really understand why it's appearing, but it doesn't really resonate. And so be open to researching, right? Stepping out of your comfort zone and looking into things that maybe you've never looked into before, thinking of things that maybe you've never thought of before. When you're aware, you can question and get to the opposite of what the projection is, which is your truth, which is what is real, which is what is beyond the illusion. But if I don't know my truth and somebody else presents something to me, or life presents something to me that is opposing my truth, my energetic truth, my self-reflected truth, I forgot what I'm saying. I'm gonna know that it's not mine. I'm gonna know if it is mine, because I'm gonna be able to feel that. I'm gonna know that. But if we are not aware of, that's what I was saying, if we're not aware of our truth, if we're not aware of how we feel, then we're not really gonna know, and hence we're gonna be stuck in that illusion. And so oftentimes the illusion can be a projection that comes from somebody else, you know, even if it's like, I want to do this thing, but people keep telling me I can't do it. They keep telling me it's going to be too hard. They keep making me feel, and I've experienced this, as I'm sure you have too, if you're doing things out of the box, if you're following your dreams, if you're trying to find really your purpose and meaning in life, you're going to have people who create illusions of doubt and illusions of they know best and you don't know this and you don't know that and you don't have this and da 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 da. But you have to be able to really self-reflect, tap in with source up there, but the source within as well, and really be able to do the work of emotional insight, right? Looking inside of your emotions and really deconstructing and reconstructing the narratives that are running and that have been running our entire lives. If that resonated with you, definitely go ahead and let me know in the comments section. But this is how you're going to be able to see through the illusions. I know you wish there was an easier, quicker answer, but unfortunately there is not. It really is just a matter of taking a minute before you're quick to internalize something, reflecting, thinking, figuring out for yourself, whether that's research, thinking, talking to somebody, and then realizing, okay, where do I stand? What do I feel? But it's also insistent upon your connection to yourself and your willingness to connect to yourself, because the connection to yourself is key. It is something that this world does not necessarily teach us is as important as it is, but it very much is. And so stay tapped in with not just me, but yourself. Bye, wolves. Thanks for watching.